We have Stun, Phantom Knights. Man, these events get more and more interesting. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys don't miss out on more honest content. We have 2 OTS Championship breakdowns that we're going to be analyzing for you today because I find these kind of interesting just to kind of see what we're doing here. So the first one here is going to be a Phantom Knight list sporting off a semi-small tier elements package within the deck just to play 2 of this field spell to get searchability going for it. Now, your Phantom Knight engine is going to give you Break Sword Shenanigans, the ability to toggle. Cherubini is going to give you access to your adventure package. And then to top things off, you're just going to very slowly start to snowball advantage with the particulars for this deck. I really like the idea of what this deck was trying to do in the long run. It's not something that you have really seen stick around as much. And I mean, this particular event, you have double Despia right after this. So you got to remember that this deck just plowed through 2 Despia players, which is already impressive as it is, considering the fact that you have so many good small moving pieces working within this deck. I'm actually fairly impressed at the end of the day that this was able to accomplish that. So the Phantom Knights striking a very major W out here. Once again, considering the fact that so many of these builds, at least in terms of the Phantom Knight department, have not done well whatsoever. So I think this is the real first time that we've seen success out here of this format. So good stuff on this. Next up here was our second place out of this tournament, and we are actually sporting off Despia, yay! So we are playing the Dark Dragoon package in here, so you'll be able to kind of do a lot of the same standard stuff that you were seeing this deck kind of do for a little while, which is, you guessed it, standard Lubellion, Saronir. We are on triple Tragedy, triple Luber. I didn't even realize that. 45 cards feels like a lot, but it's fine. Our expulsion target is going to be Raw's Disciple. The Gimmick Puppet, it's good, but the problem is it's very expensive, and a lot of players aren't going to be able to find it. I mean, your sub is the DD Orthros if you want to go down that path, but your issue with playing Orthros is it locks your opponent into Fiend, and guess what? A lot of the metagame can play through that. Fiends kind of become the level of memery, I feel like, out here. So that's kind of something interesting to really consider. Next up is our secondary Despia list. Now, this build massively cuts back. We're down to 41 cards, which feels a little bit more like the acceptable ratios here. We're on double Tragedy, which is fine. Allures for your turbo draw power. We're playing the 1 Gold Sark for Mercurier, which the other build did not do that. They were focusing on heavier ratios, but still no Gold Sark. And of course, our expulsion target is going to be Raw's Disciple. Once again, I think it's more of a budgetary option out here. Not having access to the particulars for that does end up making sense at the end of the day. And then we are side decking evenly matches here to break apart the opponent's field, along with some enemy controllers as well. So you've got plenty of bases covered here for what you're going to try to do with this. So perfectly makes sense at the end of the day. Once again, I mean, a lot of these Despia lists end up feeling pretty out here. We're also playing 2 extra buy steals with 1 Drills for more Magna Hut. I think that's fine. Our next list here is Dinosaur. So Dinosaur made top 4, and you had Phantom Knight with a slight tier package win the event. That's pretty impressive, honestly. This Dinosaur list is playing True King Listogasm. You're going to go ahead and start smashing through your opponent's extra deck. I gotta love extra deck ripping in this format. We're playing triple Ultimate Conductor. That feels a little bit costly, but I suppose the logic with that is you do want to be able to see an Ultimate Conductor to start winning the game. Which, I mean, is fine, considering the fact that Ultimate Conductor is kind of the deck's heart and soul. You slam the going second button, and you do your thing. We're main decking double evenly matched around the deck up to 42 cards, which means that you'll be able to go ahead and start attempting to win the game. Perfectly makes sense to me at the end of the day for this. So I like these ratios. I like what we're trying to do for this. It all makes sense. I mean, overall for this event, everything looked pretty straightforward. Like, do keep in mind though, the dinosaurs and tier, or the Phantom Knight being able to play through double of their higher competition, that's very, very impressive at the end of the day. So that's the wrap up for Tournament 1 here. Tournament 2, we have, you guessed it, the power of Dracroslayer. Now this is fairly impressive because pendulums struggle right now. They are not having a good time out here. One Kashtira monster locking down pendulum zones is almost sudden death for this deck. And because, you know, the vulnerability of this deck, now if you can play through and not have to deal with the particulars of those, I think you can set up and make a pretty strong board. That's pretty much the overall like gist of everything here is, so you can break through whatever is being set up. You draw the Book of Eclipse, you draw the Nibiru, you play, you also play double Imperm. You have enough cards to try to blank something to kind of set up and play through that big, ugly, nasty board. So seeing this actually do good is pretty impressive. Next up down here we had Sword Soul. All right, so wow, pendulums ended up beating Sword Soul. I mean, I guess on the higher end of the ceiling, pendulums technically do make more explosive boards, and they do have more navigatability, and it kind of makes sense. We are playing one Synthana with your full 10E package, which is fine. Triple Incredible Ecclesia. Most of your main deck stuff looks very standard here. I see that we are main decking double Talents, which is fine. Triple Monk with the one Shaman is also fine. And then we're playing the triple Anti-Spell Fragrance down there. That's so that this deck doesn't lose to something really random. Obviously, being able to flip up an Anti-Spell with Sword Soul has always been really good. We were seeing that, you know, a couple formats back, that this deck would just take advantage of Anti-Spell and just be like, well, you can't out my board, so now you can go ahead and kind of start to lose the game. And I think that's, once again, going to be one of the major things that you're going to see here with this. Next up, wow, we had double Sword Soul for this event. All right, now this build rounds it up to 40 instead of leaving a little bit more to be determined, which is fine at the end of the day. We're on triple of the Heavenly Cycle for, well, yeah, the draw card. Triple Imperm. We are playing one of the big Sword Soul guy in here. I'm not a particularly huge fan of the big Sword Soul. I get why people play it, but every time I tend to see it, it just feels like a very massive brick at the end of the day. So that's kind of something, I guess, to consider. We're also playing the Ice Jade Synchro in here. That card is actually really cool. It's just, you're only going to get maybe 1 to 2 level 10 Synchros a game. So you're going to have to decide, is accessing the level 10 Synchro going to be the right play here, or am I going to go into a bad position by making this? A lot of things that you're going to have to consider when setting up your end board for this. And then the last one we have here is actually Stun. I am actually very surprised to see that Stun made its way in to the top for this event. Now, we are playing the Fire Barrier statue for this, which is, to me, is kind of hilarious. Technically, one barrier statue with triple Fossil Dyna. We're not playing any Thunder King Ryos. The fact that Fossil Dyna and the barrier statue are going to be your go-tos. Inspector Border is going to put in a lot more work this format than I think a lot of people are really going to give it credit for. Just the fact that as soon as you see that card touch down, you should be able to start going into a way better winning position. So I do like, for the most part here, of what we're trying to do with that. We are playing Lances for the defensive options. It's actually pretty important because if your opponent tries to book, you can go ahead and lance your monster and protect it, especially when you have Book of Eclipse, Book of Moon, Book of Total Lunar Eclipse running around. Having a lance to protect your solid stun monster investment so that you can start to set up is going to be very, very solidly strong. And we're even playing evenly matches in here. So on that off chance that you do go second, you do have the chance to try to equalize and play the game. And that's also very important. Also, Crackdown is actually kind of insane in this format. Just being able to move your opponent's boss monster over to your field so that you can play the game is insane to me. Like, you do love to see that. That's actually really cool. So that is everything that we have out of these two events. Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.